What a beautiful morning on the lake. I used to be at work when the lake was like this, but not anymore. I'm Mr. R. This is the Rondinelli Project. If you love to fish, you found the right channel. First fish of the day, right here. Nice little gill. See if I can find some crappies or anything that bites. So this is the second fish today, and I found a crappie, and I'll show you what I'm fishing on. If you find brush structure, you should find some crappies or panfish in general. Okay, here's crappie number 2. Unfortunately, it's not real big, but this is the average crappie on Lake Wilhelm, so we'll see if there's more in here. When you're fishing these types of structure, you have to prepare yourself for snags, and they happen frequently, so you want to make sure you have a lot of jigs and hooks and tube baits to tie on. But there's crappie number 3. And just for the record, I had lots of snags on these excursions. Thrown into brush piles, you get snagged up. Even when I try to rig so that I'm not going to get snagged, occasionally you do. And that's the nature of this fishing. If you're not getting snagged, you're not fishing like you should. You know, you want to fish on the edge, and you'll get more hits that way. Now, I did a time check, and it was between 8 and 8:30. I got to the lake about 7:30. I should have been there a little earlier, but, you know, I'm retired, so it doesn't really matter. And fish were hitting early. The water temperature from the last cold fronts that came through was a little colder than I expected. It was around 58, but I don't see a lot of relief coming. It's going to stay cooler. You need to grow up. They say you should never leave fish to find fish, but that's what I did. I decided to go to a new spot. The wind was going to start picking up a little bit, and I came out of a protected bay, and things were a little more rough than I had expected. No, it's not too rough, but it was just not conducive for bobbing around trying to find them. So I decided to head to a more peaceful area of the lake. Now, my idea was if I found some here, I'd come back the next day to this exact spot, and that's what I did. And here's how it turned out. First fish of the day is a nice gill, so we're going to see what happens in this spot here. You know, for Lake Wilhelm, this was a pretty nice perch, and I was surprised because the perch population had kind of fallen off, but I got like 14 or 15 perch. So I was happy to see that. Here's gill number 2. He's not very big. We'll put him back, but that's number 2. Well, I'm not finding crappies, but I'm finding perch and bluegill. And usually when you find those, the two don't like. Crappies and bluegills don't like it together. It was a pretty neat morning with the clouds and the sun, but the clouds finally kind of dispersed a little bit. It's mostly sunny, but a few clouds. So far, no crappies. I really don't like using a bobber, but I was only in 4 feet of water, and that's how I kind of kept the distance from the bottom and the top of the water constant. That's the first crappie of the day. Caught nothing but perch and bluegill all day long. That's the first crappie. Maybe we're on to something. So let's throw out here. But I wasn't on to something. That was the last crappie of the day. There's a nice perch. They're near the bottom. Actually, they're right off the bottom. So this is what I was using today. These are the 1.5-inch tube baits and the 1/32 ounce jig hook. just to give you an idea of the color choice for today. And this is the front weighted offset hook that I use to make my jigs basically snagless, but they catch fish. You just have to use a pretty strong hook set. You just want to make sure when you insert that hook up through the back, it comes out the top just a little bit. And this was the last fish of the day. I decided to call it quits, but it was a really nice bluegill, about as nice as you're going to catch on Wilhelm. And I'll show it to you here in just a second. But you can get some nice gills if you're selective and you stay at it for a while. That's another nice one. Quit jabbing me. Yep. All right, up anchored. Well, it was quite the interesting day today. I'm on Lake Wilhelm. I was here at 9 o'clock. It is now 2:45. I don't know how many I have, 25, 30. But today, I think I caught 2 or 3 crappies. That was it. Everything else was perch and bluegill. A lot of perch, I was surprised. I must have 10 or 12 perch. So that was a pretty good day, but not what I expected for Lake Wilhelm. That cold front that came through a couple days ago with the snow slowed things down. So the bluegill are hitting, but the crappies are kind of on hold. So we'll see. So it's now time to head out. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Lake Wilhelm, this is at Launch 4, one of the more widely used boat docks. But it's nice. It has a restroom, it's got nice parking, yada yada yada. But they do have nice docks. Okay, let's review. A lot of perch. 12, 14 perch. I got about 25, 30 fish. The only thing I was hitting today was bluegills and perch. I think I got 2 crappies. So that cold weather really shut them down, the snow we had a couple days ago. That's the report from the lake today. And we go home.